this is part 3. This is video 3 of 3.8. And on this one, this is going to be the next example. This would be example 5. And on this problem, Julie has a savings account. She spends the same amount each week. On week 8, she had $220 in her account. And on week 13, she had $45 in her account. So the process for this is going to be similar again. We'll start with X and Y. And this one didn't necessarily tell us what X and Y is, but looking at the problem, we can see that we have weeks and we have money. And so in this case, X is going to be the number of weeks. And if time is one of the variables, it's almost always X. And so just kind of a hint there. And then for Y, it is going to be the money in her account. So the amount of money in dollars, right, in her account. And so we'll go ahead and start with our table, our X and our Y. At 8 weeks, there's $220. At 13 weeks, there's $45. And so with this, we can start looking, what is our change in Y over our change in X? Well, we look over here, we can see 8 to 13, that's going to be increase of 5 weeks. So that's our change in X. And then over here, well, this is interesting, different than our other problems. It's going from 220 to 45. That's actually a decrease of 175. So that winds up being your change in Y. So you have negative 175 over 5. So down $175 over a 5-week period. If we divide that, that winds up being negative $35 per week. Well, now that we know that the slope is negative 35, we want to find the initial value, or the starting value. So we want to find the starting value. Once again, we'll start with y equals mx plus b. We will plug in our points. To me, 13 and 45 make the most sense. So 45 for your y value, negative 35 for your m value, and 13 for your x value. So entering those in, we can go ahead and do the multiplication. Negative 35 times 13 is a negative 455. And then we continue to solve. We'll take this and flip it to this side. So you'll have 45 plus 455. And now we can combine those together. That's an alliance. They're both positive. So we get 500. So y equals negative 35 x plus 500. So what that's showing is, sorry, I should have scooped that up. What that is showing is we started at $500 in the account, and she was spending $35 or pulling out $35 every week. So it was decreasing for every week, and x is the number of weeks. And that is the answer to that one. All right, for the last problem, this is a U-try. So go ahead and pause the video, work through this problem on your own, try to go through all the steps, use the notes up above to try and guide you in that process. Once you're done, unpause the video so you can see how you did. All right, so hopefully you are done with the U-try problem. I'll go ahead and work through it now. We'll start by identifying our x and y. In this case, x is going to be the number of miles, and y is going to be the total cost in dollars. Let's start by building our table. In our first situation, 3-mile delivery, that costs $12.25, and an 8-mile delivery cost $16.50. Then we'll go ahead and take a look. What is our change in x and our change in y? So for this one here, the increase here is $4.25, while the increase here is 5. So over a 5-week period, a 5-mile, not week. So delivering 5 more miles increased the price by $4.25. Let's then change that in so that we put it as our slope, our change in y over change in x. That is 4.25 as our change in y over 5, our change in x. And then when we do that division, you will get 0.85. So that's $0.85 or 85 cents per mile. And so we now know what our M is. And once again, we want to find our start value. How much does it cost if you're delivering 0 miles? Right? So what is that initial fee that they're charging? So y equals mx plus b. We know our M is 0.85, and now we have a choice. We can choose either one of these. I don't think it really matters. So I'm going to use the 1225 since those are smaller values, times the 3 plus b. And so if I do that multiplication, that is 255. 3 times 0.85. Then we're going to take this 255, flip it to this side so we can get b by itself. Minus 255. And then this is a war. Who wins? The positives. So that is going to be 9.7 for the value of b. So our final equation then is going to be y equals 0.85 x plus 9.7. All right, and that concludes lesson 3.8.